So, we're diving into essays about climate change and polar bears. And I find
Yeah,
it pretty intriguing how one essay really nails it while the other, kind of falls short.
oh, absolutely. It's like comparing a
Hmm.
gourmet meal with a microwave dinner, right?
Exactly, exactly. The first essay, titled The Impact of Climate Change on Polar Bear Populations, has a clear thesis right from the
Yeah.
introduction. It establishes that climate change is drastically affecting the polar bears.
Right. And what really stands out is the fact that the introduction cites hard hitting facts like Arctic sea ice is shrinking by 13% per decade.
Indeed.
That grabs your attention immediately.
And then there's the well structured body paragraphs. Each one
Absolutely.
follows that
Yeah.
solid format of topic, sentence, evidence, and analysis, which really drives the point home.
Yeah. Take the habitat loss paragraph. It starts with a strong topic sentence declaring that climate change is melting the Arctic ice and then backs it up with data from the National Snow and Ice Data Center. Not just a
That's
vague
right.
claim, but specific evidence, you know?
Exactly. It's like they laid out the chain: less ice, tougher hunting conditions, and ultimately a dire impact on the bear's ability to hunt seals,
Yeah,
which is their
totally.
primary food source.
And then in the next paragraph, they show that with reduced hunting opportunities, polar bears have to travel much longer distances, which leads to malnutrition,
Yep.
doubling, sometimes nearly twice the distance compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah, that point really underlines the energy costs involved in hunting when ice is scarce. I'm thinking about it like it's like running a marathon every
Right,
day
Maham.
just to find a meal. Definitely not sustainable.
Then they talk about declining birth rates, which I think is crucial because it shows the long term effects, not just the immediate struggle. Highlighting that cub
Yes.
survival rates have dropped by 40% due to food scarcity.
And that data from the US Geological Survey really hits hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Without proper nutrition, it makes it impossible for females to sustain their cubs.
But what I really found interesting was the counter argument and rebuttal section.
Oh,
Some folks
absolutely.
suggest polar bears might adapt by sourcing alternative foods.
Right, though that rebuttal is spot on because it explains that the bears are highly dependent on seal hunting, which is almost entirely linked to the presence of the ice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Land based food just doesn't meet their specific nutritional needs.
Now, if I may, I almost have to challenge the view that adaptation could even be a realistic path,
I hear you.
because the evidence suggests that while polar bears may try to adapt, the drastic reduction in their proper hunting ground means any adaptation wouldn't save them long term.
Right, and that really cements the essay's persuasive call to action.
Exactly.
It isn't just blowing hot air, there's a clear urgency for governments and environmental organizations to act.
And the conclusion just ties it all together so neatly. They summarize key points and leave you with the idea that if no action is taken, we could see polar bears facing extinction in this century. That's a really
Oh, yeah.
powerful, motivating ending.
In stark contrast, the so called bad essay just barely scratches the
Right,
surface.
Maham.
It gives no strong thesis and um, feels like a scattered set of thoughts rather than a cohesive argument.
Yeah, the introduction of the bad essay is so vague, just saying polar bears are cute and climate change exists without providing any solid data. No compelling
Exactly.
evidence, no detailed analysis.
And especially when it comes to structure, the bad essay really falls apart.
Yeah,
Its body paragraphs are brief and lack that critical element of showing how the evidence supports the overall argument.
Plus, not citing any credible sources like the WWF or National Snow and Ice Data Center really weakens its persuasiveness.
Absolutely.
Credibility is king when you're making such a serious argument about climate change and its effects.
And then there's the counter argument bit, or should I say, the almost complete absence of it. It gives
Exactly.
the reader no opportunity to consider alternative views, which is a critical flaw in persuasive writing.
You know, it almost makes me wonder um, why would someone even settle for such a lackluster approach when writing on a topic this
Right.
pressing? It's like choosing to drive a leaky bicycle when you've got a sports car ready to go.
Spot on. You hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
there. All the elements of a good argumentative essay: solid thesis, structured body paragraphs with evidence and analysis, counter arguments with rebuttal, and a compelling conclusion, are essential.
And it's almost like a blueprint for persuasive writing. If you can nail each
Exactly.
of those components, your argument's not just clear, it's nearly irrefutable.
I think another great analogy is this. The good essay is like a well-oiled machine, each part perfectly meshing to power the whole argument,
Oh, absolutely.
while the bad essay is that rickety contraption that just doesn't run smoothly. Yeah.
On that note, I have to say, while some might argue that both essays minimally tackle the issue, there's no contest really. The good essay
True.
stands strong as a persuasive piece, while the bad essay leaves you wanting more substance.
And let me respectfully challenge one lingering point. Even though the good essay presents a counterargument, some might say it underplays the adaptability of polar bears.
I see your point, ma'am.
But I think the rebuttal is quite compelling since it aligns directly with their reliance on ice-dependent hunting methods.
Exactly. The notion that polar bears might adapt isn't entirely off the table, but the essay shows that any such adaptation isn't nearly enough to offset the severe impacts of diminishing ice. It's like saying you can reinvent a failing system when the foundational support is completely crumbling.
That analogy really ties it all together for me.
Yeah.
It highlights the dire need for immediate action in the face of irreversible changes.
And it's a reminder that in academic writing, structure and evidence are crucial.
Absolutely.
They transform a simple idea into a compelling argument that can drive real change.
So in wrapping our discussion, the key takeaways are that the quality of an argumentative essay relies on a clear thesis, a logical and evidence-backed structure, a thoughtful counter-argument with rebuttal, and a conclusion that motivates action, all of which were executed superbly in the good example.
And that's what every writer aiming to tackle complex issues like climate change should aspire to, right? Both to educate and to inspire change with credible, persuasive arguments.
Well, this conversation certainly reinforces how powerful a well-crafted essay can be, showing us that details and structure truly matter. And it reminds us to always seek and recognize quality in our discussions and writings.
Thanks for this engaging chat. It's been really enlightening to dive into these differences with you. It's conversations like these that sharpen our critical thinking on important topics.